The deep space was quiet and dark. It was a place where no sound could travel, and the stars looked like cold, white points of light. In this empty part of the galaxy there was a line that no one liked to cross. It was called the neutral zone. On one side were the many alien races of the Galactic Concord. On the other side was the space owned by the humans. Most ships stayed away from this line because it was dangerous and boring. Commander Xyler sat in the high chair of his ship, the Crystal Vengeance. He was a tall, thin creature with skin that looked like blue marble. His ship was very beautiful. The walls were smooth and glowing with soft blue light. The floor was made of a material that felt like glass. Xyler's race, the Xylophians, loved things that were elegant and fast. They believed that a ship should be like a piece of art. Moving through the stars like a bird, Xyler sighed, a sound that came out like a low whistle. He was bored. He had been patrolling this line for 3 months. Nothing ever happened here. "Report?" Xyler said to his second-in-command. A younger officer named Lero. Lero touched a glowing panel in front of him. "Sensors are clear, Commander. We have scanned the sector 4 times. There is nothing but dust and rocks." Xyler looked at the main screen in front of the bridge. It showed a perfect view of the stars. "I do not understand why the High Council sends us here," he complained. "There are no pirates. No enemies. Just silence." "Maybe it is because of the humans," Lero said softly. "They are on the other side." Xyler laughed, a sharp and superior sound. "The humans? Please. We have seen their ships. They are small. They use primitive rockets. They are like children playing in the dirt compared to us. They are not a threat." Xyler truly believed this. The Xylophians had traveled the stars for 1,000 years. Their shields were the best in the galaxy. Their weapons were precise beams of energy. They did not use heavy metal shells like the stories said humans did. That was barbaric. That was ancient history. Suddenly a light flashed on the main console. It was a soft yellow color. Lero looked down at his screen, his 3 eyes narrowing. "Commander, I am reading a mass signature near the border. It is large." Xyler sat up straighter. "Large? How large?" "Larger than a mining ship," Lero said, sounding confused. "But it has no energy signature. It is dark. It is not reflecting light properly." Xyler stood up and walked to the center of the room. "Is it an asteroid?" "Maybe a comet." "The shape is wrong," Lero replied. "It looks like it has straight lines. But it is not moving. Maybe it is a piece of debris? A broken station?" Xyler waved his hand dismissively. "The humans probably leave their trash floating in space." "How rude. Let us go closer. I want to see what it is. Maybe we can push it back into their territory." The Crystal Vengeance banked gently to the left. The ship moved with silent grace. Behind Xyler, 3 other ships from his scout group followed in perfect formation. They were fast and deadly, or so Xyler thought. As they approached the coordinates, the distance began to shrink. The object was still far away, but the sensors were picking up more data. "Lero, give me a visual," Xyler ordered. "I am trying, Commander." "The object is very cold. It is not emitting any heat. Our cameras are having trouble focusing on it." While the aliens were investigating the strange object, on the other side of the zone, inside a very different ship, life was much less elegant. Captain Rung sat in the command chair of the UFS Aegis. Unlike Xyler's ship, the Aegis was not beautiful. It was ugly, blocky, and gray. It was built from thick plates of metal welded together. The bridge was noisy. Fans hummed in the background to keep the air cool. The lights were bright but harsh, making everyone look tired. Rung was a middle-aged man with dark hair and tired eyes. He held a cup of coffee in his hands. It was his 3rd cup of the hour. He took a sip and made a face. It was cold and bitter. "This patrol is going to kill me," Rung muttered to himself. "Bored again, Captain?" The voice came from Bora, the tactical officer. She sat in front of him, surrounded by screens that showed green numbers and maps. Bora was young and sharp, but even she looked tired of the empty space. I am not bored, Rung lied. I am just waiting for something interesting to happen. I would even be happy for a meteor shower right now. In the corner of the bridge, Ensign Chol was listening to communications on his headset. Nothing on the comms, Captain. Just static. It is like we are the only people in the universe. Rung leaned back in his chair. The chair squeaked loudly. He didn't mind the noise. The Aegis was a warship, not a hotel. It was built to take hits and keep fighting. It didn't have smooth curves because curves were weak. It had thick armor and lots of guns. We have been drifting along the border for weeks, Rung said. Command says we have to show the flag. Show the aliens that we are here. Do you think they are watching us? Bora asked. She tapped a few keys on her keyboard, checking the radar. Probably, Rung said. And they are probably laughing at us. They fly around in those shiny glass ships, and we drive around in this metal brick. I like the brick, Bora said with a small smile. I feel safe in here. The other ships look like they would break if a rock hit them. Ryung nodded. He agreed with her. The human philosophy was simple. If you hit something hard enough, it doesn't matter if you are elegant or not. You just win. Suddenly, Bora stopped tapping her keys. She sat up straight. Captain, what is it? Ryung asked, putting his coffee down. I have a contact, she said. Her voice was calm. Bearing 210. It just appeared on the edge of our long-range sensors. Rung stood up and walked over to her station. Is it a ship? Yes, Bora said. It looks like a small group. Maybe 4 ships? They are moving fast. Identification? Unknown design, Bora replied. But the energy readings are high? They have very active shields. They are coming towards us. Ryung looked at the main screen, but it only showed stars. The ships were too far away to see with eyes yet. Are they on a collision course? No, Bora calculated. They are slowing down. It looks like they are stopping at something. Stopping at what? Ryung asked. There is nothing out there but us. Back on the alien ship, Commander Zyler was getting impatient. His fleet was close enough now to get a clear picture, but the object was still strange. It sat in the darkness, refusing to sparkle like the stars. Visual is ready, Commander, Lero said, putting it on the main screen. The huge screen at the front of the bridge flickered. The stars shifted as the camera zoomed in. The image cleared up. Zyler stared. He expected to see a broken human freighter. He expected to see a rusty piece of metal floating in the void. He did not expect to see what he saw. It was a massive structure. It was not small. It was huge, bigger than his own ship. It was a dark, ugly shade of gray that seemed to absorb the light around it. It looked like a giant block of jagged stone floating in the sky. What is that? Zyler whispered. It looks like a ship, Lero said, his voice shaking slightly. But it is so dense. The readings say the hull is meters thick. It has no shields, Zyler noted. Their technology is so primitive they do not even have shields. It has things, Lero said, pointing at the screen. Look at the hull. It is covered in bumps and spikes. Zyler looked closer. The ship was covered in strange protrusions. They looked like heavy guns, but they were not the sleek laser cannons the Xylofians used. They looked like brutal, heavy tubes. A human ship? Zyler said, doubt in his voice. It looks like a weapon of war from 1,000 years ago. It is hideous. Shall we hail them, Commander? Lero asked. Or should we scan it with our main array? Zyler felt a surge of confidence. This ugly, slow thing was no match for his fleet. It was sitting there, motionless. It probably did not even know they were there. It was a primitive beast sleeping in the sun. Do not hail them, Zyler said with a smirk. Let us get a better look. Let us see what the monkeys are building these days. Move us in. Close the distance. I want to see the whites of their eyes. The crystal vengeance surged forward, moving gracefully towards the silent gray giant. The other 3 ships followed, glowing blue against the dark. Inside the Aegis, the alarms began to ring. A soft, rhythmic beeping sound filled the bridge. Laura, report, Rung said, his voice turning hard. They are coming fast, Captain, she said. 4 contacts. They are not hailing. They are just accelerating right at us. Ryung looked at the tactical map. The 4 red dots were getting very close to the blue dot that represented his ship. Do they think we are deaf? Ryung asked. Chol, did you receive anything? No radio signals, Captain, Chol said. No laser bursts, nothing? Ryung crossed his arms. Okay, they want to play games. Let's play. Sound general quarters. Tell the crew to man their stations. General quarters, aye, Bora said. She flipped a switch on her console. Red lights began to flash along the walls of the bridge. Rung watched the screen. He couldn't see the alien ships yet, but he knew they were there. Are they showing weapons? Sir, their shields are glowing, Bora said. I think they are charging their weapons. Young shook his head slowly. They always bring a knife to a gunfight, he muttered. Keep the radar locked on them. If they lock onto us, I want to know. Outside, the distance between the 2 fleets vanished. The sleek, blue alien ships swarmed around the massive gray human ship like flies around a stone. Xyler watched the human ship on his screen, waiting for it to light up. Waiting for it to run, but the human ship did not run. It just sat there, a dark shadow in the stars. Commander, Lero said, his voice tight. I am getting strange readings from that ship. It is not acting like a ship should. The gravity displacement is wrong. Xyler frowned. What do you mean? I mean, that thing is much heavier than it looks, Lero said. And sir, look at the front. Xyler looked. The cameras were focused on the bow of the human ship. For a second, he thought he saw the plates move. Not lights, not shields, but the actual metal armor plates. Stop, Xyler said. Sir? I said stop the ship, Xyler ordered. Hold position. The Xylofian fleet slowed down, drifting silently in front of the gray giant. Xyler stared at the screen. A strange feeling went down his spine. It was a feeling he had not felt in a long time. It was fear, but he did not know why. It was just a gray ship. Then they saw it, Lero whispered. What? Xyler asked. Look at the sides, Commander. The ports? They are opening. Xyler looked. All along the side of the gray ship, massive doors were sliding open. But they were not opening to let shuttles out. They were opening to reveal the dark. Gaping mouths of thousands of missile tubes and heavy railguns, the silence of space suddenly felt very loud. The Aegis was waking up. The silence between the 2 ships was heavy, but the silence inside the alien bridge was filled with confusion. Commander Xyler stood frozen in front of the main screen. His fleet had stopped moving. They were drifting just a few kilometers away from the massive gray object. The more he looked at it, the more he felt a strange mix of pity and disgust. It was not just ugly. It was stupidly designed. The ship was a blocky rectangle, with bits sticking out at strange angles. It did not have the smooth, flowing lines of a Xylofian vessel. It looked like someone had taken a rocky asteroid and forced engines onto the back of it. Scan it, Xyler ordered, pointing a long finger at the screen. Tell me what it is made of. Surely their technology has advanced since the last war. Lero, his second-in-command, typed quickly on the holographic keyboard. Scanning, Commander. But the hull is very thick. Our sensors are having trouble penetrating the outer layers. Thick? Xyler laughed. Why would they need such a thick hull? Do they plan to crash into planets? Wait, Lero said. I am getting readings on the composition. It is strange. It is mostly heavy metals. Iron, lead, and something very dense. It is not the light, strong alloys we use. It is simple, heavy rock metal. Xyler shook his head. Primitive. Absolute primitives. They weigh their ships down with heavy plates because they do not know how to make proper energy shields. They rely on armor to stop attacks. It is like a knight wearing a metal suit in the age of the laser gun. He sat back down, feeling much better. His fear had vanished. How could he be afraid of a ship that relied on raw metal to survive? In the Xylopheian Navy, speed and shields were everything. If you could not be hit, you did not need armor. They are sitting ducks, Xyler said to his crew. Their ship is too heavy to turn fast. Their engines are working hard just to keep it in one place. We could fly circles around them and shoot them until the metal melts. Should we prepare the plasma cannons? Lero asked. Not yet, Xyler said. Let us see if they are alive. Send a focused laser pulse at their bridge. Let us get a high-resolution picture of their faces. While the aliens were making fun of the human ship, the mood on the UFS Aegis was very different. It was not a place of laughter. It was a place of work. Captain Rung stood in the middle of the bridge, watching his crew. They were all sitting at their stations, wearing headphones and looking at their screens. The ship hummed with a low, constant vibration. This was the sound of the powerful engines working deep inside the ship. Sir, Ensign Chull said. He was a young man with short hair, looking worried. I am picking up a focused laser scan. They are targeting the bridge? Rung frowned. Targeting us? They are rude? Is it an attack? Bora asked. Her hands were hovering over her weapons controls. No, it is just a scan, Rung said calmly. They want to see what we look like. They are probably surprised that a ship this ugly is still flying. Rung walked over to the large window on the bridge. Through the thick, reinforced glass, he could see the alien ships in the distance. They were beautiful, glowing with blue light. They looked like graceful fish swimming in the ocean. They are pretty, Rung admitted, but fragile. Bora, what is the status of our hull? The armor is at 100%, sir, Bora replied. The outer layer is cold. We are ready for anything. Ryung nodded. Good, let's talk to them. Chul, open a channel. Use the wideband radio transmitter, radio? Chul asked. Sir, that is very old technology. Most modern species use digital laser comms or quantum pulses. I know, Rung said. But radio waves are strong. They go through everything. And I want them to hear us loud and clear. Send the standard warning text. No talking. Just text. Okay, sir, Chul said. He typed a command into his console. On the alien ship, Lero suddenly gasped. Commander, I am detecting a transmission from the human ship. Is it a video? Are they surrendering? Xyler asked. No, sir, Lero said, sounding confused. It is a radio wave. An analog signal. It is like the ancient Earth signals from thousands of years ago. Radio? Xyler could not believe his ears. Are they serious? They are using archaic technology? Do they not have subspace communication? It is a simple burst, Lero explained. I am decoding the message now. The main screen flickered. The beautiful view of the stars was replaced by a simple, black screen with white text. The font was blocky and basic. It looked like a child had written it. The message read, ****, UNSC space, you are entering a restricted military zone. Identify yourself and your intent immediately. Failure to comply will result in hostile action. ****, Xyler stared at the screen. He read the words 3 times. Then he started to laugh. It was a loud, mocking laugh that echoed through the bridge. Hostile action? Xyler laughed. From them? Look at them. They are floating there like a rock in a river. They are threatening us? This is a joke. Lero looked worried. Sir, the tone is very aggressive. It is not polite. They did not say greetings or welcome travelers. They are ordering us. Because they are stupid, Xyler said, slamming his hand on the armrest. They think their thick metal skin makes them strong. They think they can talk to the Xylopheian Empire like we are criminals? They are like a small dog barking at a tiger. Should we reply, Commander? Yes, Xyler said, his eyes narrowing. Reply with our standard diplomatic packet. But also charge the main weapon arrays to 10%. I want to show them what real power looks like. When they see our bright blue shields, they will realize their mistake. On the bridge of the Aegis, Chul looked up from his screen. Sir, they received the message, but they are not responding on the radio. Are they using laser comms? Bora asked. No, ma'am, Chul said. They're not talking at all, but their ship's power levels are rising. The blue glow around their ships is getting brighter. Bora typed faster. Sir, their weapons are powering up. The forward plasma banks are charging. It looks like they are getting ready to shoot. Rung sighed and walked back to his chair. He sat down slowly. So they don't want to talk. They saw our message, and instead of saying hello, they start aiming guns at us. I think they are insulted, sir, Chul suggested. Maybe they think the radio message was an insult to their technology. Maybe they are just bullies, Rung said. He rubbed his chin. Bora, bring the targeting radar online, but keep it low power. I don't want to start a war if we don't have to, but I want them to know that we can see them. Targeting radar is online, Bora said. We have a lock on all 4 ships. Inside the alien ship, the mood suddenly changed. Liro jumped in his seat. Commander, they have locked onto us. All 4 of us. What? Xyler looked at his screen. Impossible. Our shields are up. They cannot get a missile lock through our energy fields. Their sensors are too primitive. They are not using a standard lock, Liro said, his voice rising in panic. They are using mass radar? It is extremely powerful. It is hitting our hulls directly, bypassing the shields. They know exactly where our engines are. Xyler stood up. How can a ship made of lead have such powerful radar? Look at the size of it. Liro shouted. That entire ship is probably a giant power plant. They don't use energy for pretty lights like we do. They use it all for brute force weapons and sensors. Xyler looked back at the main view of the gray ship. It still looked silent and dead. But now he noticed something he missed before. The ship was not just a gray box. It was covered in thousands of small, round bumps. He thought those were rivets or decoration, but now he realized the truth. Those bumps, Xyler whispered. Those aren't decorations. Those are sensors. And weapons. Yes, sir, Liro confirmed. I am re-evaluating the ship class. It is not a freighter. It is a battleship. A dreadnought-class heavy hitter. It has more guns than our entire fleet. Xyler felt a cold shiver run down his spine. The mocking smile disappeared from his face. He had made a mistake. He had judged the book by its cover. He thought the human ship was a primitive beast because it was ugly and slow, but he was wrong. It wasn't slow because it was weak. It was slow because it was incredibly heavy. It was heavy because it was carrying enough firepower to destroy a small moon. They are not primitive, Xyler said softly. They are just different. They are a hammer. And we are glass. Sir, their message text is still on the screen, Liro reminded him. It says, failure to comply will result in hostile action. Xyler looked at the text again. It did not look stupid anymore. It looked honest. The humans were not bragging. They were stating a fact. Charge the weapons to full, Xyler ordered. His voice was shaking slightly. We may need to fire first. On the Aegis, Ring watched the alien ships. He saw the blue glow get brighter. He knew they were charging weapons. They are nervous, Ring said calmly. Bora, load the railguns with standard rounds. No nukes yet. Let's just give them a scare if they fire. Railguns loaded, sir, Bora replied. The ship hummed louder as the massive magnetic generator spun up. We are ready to fire in 3 seconds. Young looked at the screen. Wait, he said. Let's see what they do next. The 2 fleets faced each other in the dark. The elegant, glowing blue ships against the dark, armored gray monster. The aliens realized too late that beauty does not always mean strength. And the humans sat quietly, waiting to see if they would have to use the dangerous power sleeping inside their metal walls. Xyler looked at the big gun, barrels sticking out of the human ship. They looked like the mouths of caves, dark and deep. He wondered what kind of terrible missiles would come out of them. Lero, Xyler whispered. Send a message to High Command. Tell them we found the humans. And tell them we need backup. But Lero was staring at his screen in horror. Sir, the human ship is turning. Xyler felt his face getting hot with anger. The message from the human ship was not just rude. It was a direct insult to his intelligence. Using radio waves was like sending a message written on a rock and throwing it at someone. It was barbaric. It was the technology of cavemen. They are mocking us, Xyler said, his voice low and dangerous. He walked back to his command chair and gripped the edges until his knuckles turned white. They think they can talk to the Xylofian Empire like we are primitives. They think their heavy metal box makes them strong. Lero looked at the sensors. Commander, their ship is still locked onto us. The targeting radar is very strong. It is making my console vibrate. That is because they are inefficient, Xyler snapped. They waste so much energy just to see us. We use grace. They use brute force. I will teach them a lesson. I will show them what real power looks like. Xyler pointed at the screen where the gray human ship sat silently. Charge the main plasma arrays. Do not fire to destroy. Fire to scare. Target the space right in front of their nose. If we hit them, we might damage our data on their hull. I want them to see our lights and run away. Yes, Commander, Lero said. Charging weapons to 20%. That should be enough to melt their sensors without destroying the ship. On the bridge of the Crystal Vengeance, the mood changed from confusion to excitement. The crew members moved quickly, preparing the weapon systems. The Xylofians loved their plasma weapons. They were beams of pure, contained energy that could slice through most materials. They were beautiful to watch, bright blue beams of light that crackled like lightning. Plasma banks are charging, the weapons officer announced. Estimating time to fire in 30 seconds. Xyler smiled. He imagined the humans looking at their sensors and panicking. They would see the massive energy spike and realize they were outmatched. They would turn their ugly ship around and run back to their planet. Open a channel, Xyler ordered. I want to say one thing to them before we fire. Channel open, sir. Xyler leaned into the microphone. This is Commander Xyler of the Xylophan Scout Fleet. You are trespassing. Your primitive technology is an insult to this star system. Drop your shields and power down your engines, or we will blow you out of the sky. He cut the connection. Now, he said, fire the warning shot. But before they could fire, something changed on the human ship. On the bridge of the UFS Aegis, the atmosphere was calm. It was the calm of a hurricane's eye. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had done this drill 1,000 times. Captain Reng sat in his chair, watching the alien ships. He could see the blue glow around them getting brighter. Chul, did you hear what they said? Ren asked. Yes, sir, Chul replied, looking at the transcript on his screen. They said we are primitive. They ordered us to drop our shields and power down. Rung let out a short, dry laugh. Drop our shields? We don't have energy shields. If we drop our armor, we are just a metal can. Bora looked back at him. They are charging weapons, Captain. High energy output. Plasma type. If they hit us, they will burn through the outer hull plating. I know, Rung said. He leaned forward. They want to scare us. They think if they shine their bright lights at us, we will run away. They don't understand us. He stood up and walked to the center of the bridge. He looked at the crew. They made a mistake, Rung said. They thought we were bluffing with our radio message. They thought we were weak because we are heavy and slow. But let me tell you something about this ship. He tapped the metal wall next to him. This ship is not slow. It is patient. And we don't fight with light shows. We fight with physics. Bora, bring the mains online. Bora nodded. Aye, Captain. Bringing the mains online. This was the moment the aliens had been waiting for, but not in the way they expected. On the alien ship, Lero shouted, Commander! The human ship is glowing. Xyler looked at the screen. Ha! They are raising their shields? Finally, they show some intelligence. They know they are in trouble. But then Xyler frowned. Wait, that is not a shield. Shields looked like a bubble of light that covered a ship. But this was different. The lights on the human ship were not forming a bubble. Deep inside the hull, along the spine of the ship, lights were turning on. They were not blue or green like Xylofian lights. They were angry, fiery oranges and deep reds. The energy reading is going up, Lero said, his voice trembling. It is going up very fast. It is off the charts. Inside the Aegis, the ship was waking up. The change was not visual from the outside, but it was felt everywhere. The low hum of the ship grew into a deep, vibrating roar. The floor shook under the crew's feet. The lights in the bridge flickered and dimmed as the ship diverted all power to the weapon systems. Power levels at 90%, Bora said loudly to be heard over the noise. Railgun capacitors are charging. Missiles are loaded. Steady, Rung said. He held onto a handle as the ship vibrated. Don't let them rush us. We do this on my order. Back on the Crystal Vengeance, the bridge was falling into panic. The elegant, quiet ship was now filled with alarms. Commander, Vero screamed. The gravity waves. Their ship is generating massive gravity waves. They are spinning up something huge. Xyler stared at the sensor display. It was a wall of red. How is that possible? That much energy? It should melt their ship. Their engines cannot handle that load. I think they are going to explode. A crew member shouted. Maybe we hit a self-destruct mechanism. No, Xyler whispered. That is not an explosion. That is a weapon. Suddenly, the vibration from the human ship stopped. The energy reading spiked and held steady, like a breath held in anticipation. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. On the Aegis, the vibration died down. The ship was now at full power. The massive generators deep in the belly of the ship were ready. Targeting solution locked, Bora said. She looked at Rung. Her face was serious. We have a clear shot at all 4 ships. Young looked at the screen. He saw the alien ships glowing with their pretty blue lights. They look so fragile now. Do they look scary to you, Bora? Ryung asked. No, sir, she said. They look like glass. Exactly, Rung said. We are the hammer. They are the window. He paused. He did not want to start a war, but he knew he could not back down. If he backed down now, the galaxy would think humans were weak. And that would be the most dangerous thing of all. Bora, Ryung said softly. Unlock the safeties. Open the gun ports. Aye, sir. Opening gun ports. Outside, in the cold vacuum of space, the Aegis began to transform. Xyler watched in horror. The gray metal skin of the human ship started to move. Huge armored plates, the size of city blocks, began to slide aside. It looked like the ship was opening its eyes. Behind those plates, there was no glowing energy. There was only darkness. Deep, dark barrels that pointed directly at the alien fleet. Commander, Lero whispered. I have never seen readings like this. Those are kinetic drivers, magnetic rails. They are using solid slugs. How big are the slugs? Xyler asked, his voice shaking. Each one is the size of a small shuttle, Lero said. And they are traveling at 10 times the speed of sound. If those hit us, we won't just explode. We will be vaporized. Xyler looked at his own weapons controls. His plasma cannons were charged. He was about to fire a warning shot. But now, looking at the open mouths of those massive guns, he realized something terrifying. His warning shot would just make them angry. Cancel the firing order. Xyler shouted. Do not fire. I repeat, do not fire. But it was too late. The human ship had finished opening. The gun ports were fully exposed. The Aegis was no longer a rock. It was a fortress. And it was staring right at them. Ryung watched the alien ships freeze. They were no longer charging their weapons. They were just floating there. They stopped, Rung said. They finally saw us? Sir, Scholl said. I am detecting a signal from the lead alien ship. It is a surrender signal. They are powering down their weapons. Ryung smiled. It was not a mean smile. It was the smile of someone who knew the value of peace, but also knew the cost of war. Stand by, Ryung said. Let them wait a moment. Let them think about it. The silence that followed the opening of the gun ports was terrifying. It was not a peaceful silence. It was the silence of a predator staring at its prey before the final strike. On the bridge of the Crystal Vengeance, the air felt cold and heavy. The crew members were gripping their consoles. Their eyes wide with fear, Commander Xyler could not look away from the main screen. The image of the gray human ship filled the view. The dark, open holes of the gun ports looked like endless caves leading to the center of a dark planet. He had given the order to hold fire, but his hand was still shaking over his console. They stopped charging, Lero said quietly. Their weapon energy levels dropped. Xyler let out a breath he did not know he was holding. Good, he whispered. They are smart. They know we are strong. But Lero did not look relieved. He looked more scared than before. Commander, look at the screen. The ship is rotating. Xyler looked. The massive shape of the human ship was beginning to move. It was slow, incredibly slow. It did not turn like the Xylofian ships, which could spin on a coin like a dancer. The human ship turned like a mountain sliding. It used powerful thrusters on its side to push its massive weight. Why are they turning? Xyler asked. They are already pointing at us. They are turning to show us their side, Lero said, his voice cracking. They are turning to broadside. On the bridge of the UFS Aegis, Captain Ryung stood with his feet apart, bracing himself against the mild vibration of the floor. The ship was moving. For a ship this size, moving required a lot of power. Laura, report on the turn, Ryung said. Port thrusters at 90%, Bora replied. She was watching the helm controls. We are swinging the broadside into position. It will take another 30 seconds to align. Take your time, Ryung said calmly. There is no rush. In space, the Aegis continued its slow, powerful rotation. As it turned, the sunlight that hit the gray hull shifted. The shadows changed. The ship looked less like a box and more like a wall of steel that stretched up and down forever. Inside the alien ship, the sensors began to scream. Commander! Lero shouted. The gravity displacement, it is huge. The thrusters on that ship are pushing so much mass that they are creating a gravitational wave. It is rocking our ship. Xyler grabbed his chair to steady himself. The floor beneath him was actually vibrating. The human ship was kilometers away, yet the sheer force of its movement was shaking the Crystal Vengeance. How is that possible? Xyler cried out. That much mass. It should collapse into a black hole. They are not using shields, Lero said, typing frantically, trying to understand the data. They do not use energy fields to protect themselves. That is why their engines are so big. They have to push all that metal with brute force. And now that metal is pointing straight at us. The human ship finished its turn. The rotation stopped with a heavy, invisible thud that rippled through space. Now, the aliens were looking at the full side of the Aegis. It was a terrifying sight. The ship was not just a wall. It was a fortress. The side was covered in layers of armor plates, one on top of another. And between the plates there were hundreds of guns. They saw railguns, long tubes that could fire metal shells at incredible speeds. They saw missile launchers, big square doors waiting to open. They saw point defense cannons, small guns meant to shoot down anything that came close. It was a wall of weapons. They call this a ship? Xyler whispered. It is a floating weapon. It is a death machine. They have enough firepower to destroy a planet, Lero said. Look at the missile magazines. Just one of those missiles carries a warhead the size of a building. If they fire all of that at us, we will not exist anymore. Xyler realized his mistake now. He had thought the humans were primitive because they used metal and bullets. He thought elegance was strength. He was wrong. The humans did not care about elegance. They cared about one thing, hitting the enemy so hard that the enemy could never get up again. They built a ship that could take a hit and then hit back harder. Commander, the weapons officer said, his voice shaking, our plasma cannons? They would just bounce off that armor. And even if we burn through the first layer, there are 3 more layers underneath. And while we are trying to burn through, they will fire those railguns. They will punch right through our shields. Xyler finished the thought. Our shields stop energy beams. But they cannot stop a solid piece of metal traveling at 10 times the speed of sound. It is like throwing a rock at a window. On the Aegis, the mood was professional and calm. The crew knew exactly what they were doing. Broadside is presented, Bora announced. All guns have a solution on the late alien ship. Young looked at the tactical map. The red dots of the alien ships were right in the center of his firing arc. Good, Rung said. Joel, are they still listening? Yes, sir. Their communication channel is still open. I can hear them breathing. They sound panicked. Ryung nodded. Send them a message? Not a text this time. Send a voice message. Use the ship's external speakers. Let them hear my voice. Aye, sir, Troll said. He flipped a switch. Rung leaned forward and spoke. His voice was deep and steady, amplified by the powerful communication systems of the battleship. This is Captain Rung of the Human Federation ship Aegis, he said. You entered our territory with your weapons charged? You threatened us. We do not like threats. We have shown you what we can do. Now look at your screens. Look at us on the alien bridge, the voice boomed through the speakers. It was not electronic or distorted. It was deep and loud like the voice of a giant. It sounded tired but very angry. Xyler looked at the screen. He saw the thousands of gun barrels pointing at him. He saw the heavy armor that his plasma could not melt. He saw the determination of a species that did not know how to give up. This is your only warning, Rung's voice continued. Power down your weapons. Retreat back to your side of the line. If you fire even one shot, we will not try to disable you. We will destroy you completely. Do you understand? Xyler felt small. He felt like an insect looking up at a boot about to stomp. All his life he had believed that technology was about energy and speed. He had forgotten that sometimes technology was just about being bigger and harder than the other guy. Commander, Lyra whispered. We cannot win. If we fire, we die. Xyler looked at his beautiful glowing ship. It looked like a toy compared to the gray monster outside. It was fragile. It was glass. The human ship was the hammer. I understand, Xyler said, his voice breaking. Say it, Ryung's voice thundered over the comms. Do you understand? Xyler pressed the button to reply. We understand. He shouted. We are powering down. Please do not fire. Captain, Bora said on the human ship. They are powering down. The blue lights are going off. Rung sat back in his chair. He picked up his coffee cup. It was empty, but he held it anyway. Good, Rung said. Keep the guns locked on them. If they make a wrong move, turn them to dust. The bridge of the Aegis was quiet again. The massive ship sat there, its broadside exposed like a wall of guns, silent and deadly. The aliens had come to mock the humans. They had come to teach them a lesson. But now, looking at the terrifying metal beast, they were the ones who had learned a lesson. They saw it. They saw the human way of war. And they stopped moving, paralyzed by the sheer power of the metal giant. The silence on the bridge of the Crystal Vengeance was absolute. No one moved. No one even seemed to breathe. The only sound was the soft hum of the life support systems. Commander Xyler stood with his hand still hovering over the weapon control. He was terrified. If he pressed the wrong button, or if his ship fired by accident, he knew they would all die in the next second. Power down the weapons, Xyler said. His voice was so quiet it was barely a whisper. Sir? The weapons officer asked, looking up with wide eyes. I said power down. Xyler shouted, making the officer jump. Discharge the plasma coils. Turn off the shields. Show them we are not a threat. Do it now. The crew moved fast. Blue lights began to fade along the walls of the Xylophonian ship. The beautiful, glowing energy fields that protected them flickered and vanished. The Crystal Vengeance suddenly felt very naked and very small. They were exposed in the dark space, sitting next to the angry gray monster. On the screen, the human ship did not move. The thousands of gun barrels were still pointing directly at them. It was like standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the wind to push you off. "Captain Rung," Lero said, his voice shaking badly. "The human is still on the open channel. He is waiting." Xyler took a deep breath. He had to swallow his pride. He had to be the commander of a weak scout fleet now, not the proud warrior he thought he was an hour ago. He pressed the communication button. "We are powering down," Xyler said. His voice sounded weak in his own ears. "Please do not fire. We are leaving. We are returning to our space." For a long moment there was no answer. Xyler's sweat dripped down his face. He looked at the tactical display. If the human railguns fired, there was nothing he could do. His ship had no armor. It would be like an egg hitting a hammer. Then the voice of Captain Rung came through the speakers again. It was deep and calm. "Go," the human said, "and do not come back. Next time, we might not be in a talking mood." The line went dead. Xyler slumped into his chair. He felt like he had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. "Get us out of here," he told his pilot. "Engage the FTL drive. Maximum speed." "But, Commander," the pilot said, "we need to calculate the jump. It is dangerous to jump randomly without a clear path." "I do not care," Xyler yelled. "Jump anywhere. Just get us away from this metal beast." On the bridge of the UFS Aegis, the tension was fading, turning back into the usual routine boredom. Captain Ryung watched the alien ships on the radar. They were spinning around, turning their tails toward the human ship. "Sir, they are running," Bora said. She sounded almost disappointed. "Their FTL signatures are spiking. They are not even waiting for each other. They are running alone." Ryung nodded. "That is what I expected. Should we fire a warning shot to hurry them up?" Joel asked from the comm station. "No," Ryung said. "We don't kick people when they are down. They saw the gun and they made the smart choice. No need to waste ammunition." He looked at the massive wall of guns on the main screen. "Bora, close the gun ports. Secure the mains. Let's stop looking so scary." "Aye, sir." Closing ports. Outside the ship, the heavy armored plates began to slide back. The massive railguns were hidden away again, and the missile launchers were sealed shut. The UFS Aegis stopped looking like a fortress of death and went back to looking like a simple, gray, blocky spaceship. The vibration in the floor stopped as the huge power generators slowed down to a cruise-level dot in space. The Xylophonian ships stretched and twisted. One by one, they vanished into flashes of blue light as they jumped into hyperspace. They were fleeing in panic. They did not stay in formation. They did not wait for orders. They just ran. The last ship to leave was the Crystal Vengeance. For a second, just before it jumped, Xyler looked back at the human ship one last time. It was just a gray shape in the dark, silent and unmoving. But Xyler would never forget what he had seen underneath that gray skin. He would never forget the wall of weapons. Then, with a flash, he was gone. The star system was empty again. Rung stood up and stretched his back. It made a cracking sound. "Well," he said, "that was exciting for a Tuesday." Chol took off his headset and rubbed his ears. "I thought they were going to shoot us, Captain." That blue glow was very bright. "They are all light and no power," Rung said. "They rely on style. We rely on substance." He walked over to the coffee machine. "Bora, what is the status of the patrol?" "We are clear, sir," she reported. "No other contacts in range." "Good," Rung said. He poured a fresh cup of coffee. It smelled good. "Resume the patrol route. Let's get back to drifting." The crew laughed softly. The mood on the bridge relaxed. The adrenaline of the standoff faded away. For them, it was just another day on the border. They knew they were the strongest thing out there, so they didn't need to prove it constantly. As the Aegis slowly turned back to its patrol path, the story of what happened began to spread. The Xylophian ships would return to their home planets. Commander Xyler would have to explain to his leaders why he ran away. He would tell them about the gray ship. He would tell them about the humans. He would describe a ship that did not use shields. He would tell of a ship that used thick metal armor and brute force. He would speak of the wall of guns that could destroy a fleet in seconds. The legend would grow across the galaxy. Aliens would start to whisper about the dark giants or the iron apes. They would say that the humans were quiet. They were ugly. They were slow. But if you saw them turn their side to you, you stopped moving. You stopped and you ran or you died. Because for the first time, the galaxy saw that humanity did not fight for honor. They did not fight for looks. They fought to win. And they had the biggest stick in the universe. Back on the bridge, Ryung sat down and took a sip of his coffee. He looked out the window at the empty stars. He thought about the pretty, fragile alien ships. Poor things, he muttered to himself. They have no idea what's out here. The UFS Aegis drifted on, a silent guardian in the dark. It was alone, but it was never lonely. It was strong, and that was enough.